What's up, everybody? Last week we got the long-awaited return of Verdansk when we got Season 3 of Warzone, and of course, with a new season comes a meta shakeup as usual. Today we are talking about the long-range meta. We will be talking about short range. I think I'm going to talk about, we're going to relook at perks, I think, because we got a new map, new TTK, a bunch of new things. So we're doing long range today. We'll have other stuff coming in the future, so make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell if you want to see that content first. And please don't forget to like, and at the end of the video, comment down below what you think of my rankings, my loadout, etc. Let me know all that in the comments down below. And as usual, we're going to go look at loadouts in COD, and then we're going to jump over to true game data really quick just to compare some things. But let's go jump into the loadouts. Okay, so we're over in the loadouts now, and starting at number 5 is the semi-return of the GPR. The GPR fell out of the meta. It was like the first meta we had before the buffer stock came to the XM4 and the XMG. One thing that's different about the videos I've done in the past, I've done no LMGs. With the movement changes that we got in Verdansk and the capability of some of the other weapons on this list, it just wasn't worth using an LMG. So we just went with 5 ARs instead of 2 LMGs and 3 ARs this time. And so that brings the GPR back on our list, which was never far off of it. But with some of the damage and the damage range changes that all of the ARs and LMGs and SMGs, pistols, etc. got in the new season, the GPR, which is not super hard to shoot, made its way back into our top 5 here. And so, of course, we have the Willis 3 times or your optic of choice. I know a lot of people still like to do a 1 times or even the 2 times for a little less visual recoil, but I'm just blind when I play these games, so I like the 3 times. Then we have the new monolithic suppressor. If you don't have the monolithic suppressor, you can still go to the compensator. I know the battle pass takes forever to level up, but we are ideally trying to use the monolithic suppressor as much as we can. I am a reinforced barrel guy. I know a lot of people like the long barrel or even the gain twist, but with the monolithic suppressor, which benefits both bullet velocity and damage range, I especially like the reinforced barrel because it's not like we don't have either one of these being modified by our muzzle anymore, which has been typical in Black Ops 6 Warzone. So now I'm extra big on the reinforced. Of course, you could go long barrel to up the damage range some, or you can also go with the gain twist to match the bullet velocity of the top 2 on this list, which definitely have an advantage of bullet velocity. But with having the monolithic suppressor add damage range and bullet velocity, I like the reinforced barrel even more. Vertical foregrip for horizontal recoil control. Extended mag 1. I mean, everything's going to extended mag 2, so we're actually going to go up to extended mag 2 now, because almost everything on this list goes to their extended mag 2 or plus. Commando grip, sprint to fire, aim down sight speed, and not to mention on the mag topic again, from 60 to 45, and with this up TTK, if you hit your shots, that 60 could take out a whole team. Commando grip, we just went over. Light stock. Movement speed, strafe movement speed, hip fire movement speed with no cons. The other one is the balance stock, which also gives you aim walking movement speed, but doesn't help the movement speed, the hip fire movement speed, or the strafing movement speed as much as the light stock. And unless you're bot walking around a corner ADS, and which you shouldn't be with your AR anyways, the GPR or the aim down sight movement speed doesn't matter. And because we took the compensator off, we did go recoil springs. If with the compensator gone and the monolithic on, if you feel like the recoil is still easy enough for you to control, definitely go with the overpressured for the extra bullet velocity. But I stick with recoil springs. If we're looking for a 5 attachment build here, we remove the recoil springs, we remove the light stock, we remove the commando grip, and then you have Willis 3 times monolithic, reinforced, vertical foregrip, and extended mag. Of course, I almost always rock the 8 times. No, we don't want a laser. Light stock, and then recoil spring. So moving on to number 4, we have the Cypher, which was the meta for the second half of Season 2. It's still really good. It's one gun that's really easy to shoot, and it's a similar build. Willis 3 times, or your choice. Monolithic suppressor, reinforced, vertical foregrip, extended mag 2. There is no bigger extended mag here, but that is 60 rounds. And you'll see that 60 rounds is pretty common on this list, which is another reason why the GPR went up to extended mag 2. Commando grip, light stock, and recoil springs. Of course, once again, we ditched the compensator, so that's why we definitely want to go recoil springs here, but the Cypher is pretty easy to shoot. And so if you find it still easy enough to shoot, go with the overpressured rounds. So then moving on to number 3, we have the AK-74, aka the AK-47. This is the best time to kill on this list, but it also has the most recoil on this list. And so since this has the most recoil on the list, it would be very reasonable to drop the monolithic suppressor for the compensator. But 1B on this list has a similar time to kill, slightly less recoil, and easier to use the monolithic on. So that's why this is at number 3. If you need the compensator, you might as well use 1B on this list because they're so similar in so many ways, except 1B is a little easier to shoot. But it's not unreasonable to go compensator on the AK. That definitely would make sense. And if you're going to do that, I mean, once again, that opens up the long barrel, gain twist barrel, and reinforced barrel argument. I still like reinforced barrel because I like helping damage range and bullet velocity. Definitely going to want the vertical foregrip. Extended mag 2 here. Once you see at 60 rounds, everything so far has been at 60, and so the GPR had to go to 60. Commando grip, light stock, which once again has no negatives. There's no reason not to use it on an 8 attachment build, and recoil springs. Now, if you're going to go with a 5 attachment build, I'm going to drop the stock. I'm going to drop the commando grip, and this is where it becomes a debate because the AK does have the hardest recoil on the list. And so you definitely are going to want to switch to compensator if you're going to a 5-time build because you're probably going to have to drop the recoil springs. Now, if you don't mind iron sights, and these iron sights aren't the worst, but they're actually really not great, you could drop the Willis 3 times and keep your recoil springs. You can't drop the mag. Vertical foregrip helps with the recoil, and you can't drop the barrel. So if you're going to go 5 attachments, I would recommend you have to drop the recoil springs, but you have to go compensator then. And so you're losing out on bullet velocity and damage range, which then, depending on what's important to you, maybe it's bullet velocity that's really important to you. Then you have to go gain twist. And so it does get messy. I would recommend really just running the AK if you can pick up a gunfighter build, so you can get the recoil springs on there, and you can go to the monolithic just to get that extra recoil control, but while also getting the bullet velocity range. Because now we're getting into what people really like, and at 1B, we have the AMAX. Now, the reason this is a 1B in the long range, this kicks the crap out of the 1A TTK, which you can probably guess. But in the close to mid-range, if you miss one bullet, you're going to lose to what's at number 1 because number 1 has like 0 recoil at all, and you're going to lose that gunfight. So, that leads us into, do you drop the monolithic suppressor for compensator so you can have more recoil control, which this doesn't have a crazy amount of recoil, not as much as the AK, that's for sure. And so then you start thinking about the compensator, but then you lose the benefits of the monolithic, and so that's why it ends up 1B on this list. But the build's the same. Willis 3 times, monolithic suppressor, reinforced barrel, vertical foregrip, extended mag 2, which once again is 60 rounds. Extended mag 1 if you want the old school AMAX feel with the 45 rounds and everything. I did run that at first. It does feel old school, but it's just hard not to do the 60 rounds. Commando grip, light stock, which once again has no negatives, and recoil springs. If you're going 5 attachments, you can drop the recoil springs, light stock, and commando grip. And I then would really want to go compensator like the AK, but like I said, this is easier to shoot than the AK. So if you want to stick with this as your 5 attachment build, this is what most people are running as their 5 attachment. But if you're worried about what's 1A on this list and just missing that one bullet in the closer to and like the mid range, then you're going to want to go compensator, and you're not going to have the bullet velocity and damage range anymore. So I would just say learn to shoot it. It's not super difficult. It's pretty similar to the old school AMAX if you played old Warzone. And so I would just say learn it. And of course, if it's easy enough recoil, go over pressured over recoil springs in your 8 attachment build to really get a lot of bullet velocity there. And then 1A, which, like I said, you could switch the AMAX and the Kilo, but 1A is, of course, the Kilo, which I don't know why I still have a compensator on that. But we have a Willis 3 times monolithic reinforced vertical foregrip, extended mag 2, which is 60 rounds. You can go extended mag 3. But just in-game stats alone, we'll look at this on true game data. Aim down sight speed. So let's just remove that altogether. Aim down sight speed, penalty of extended mag 2. Down sight gets quicker. Well, that's just not correct. We're going to assume that graphic is just wrong. It's 11% versus 18%. Now, that 7% might not be a lot, but you get 60 rounds in extended mag 2, and so we go with the 60 round extended mag 2. Commando grip, no stock, which is the light stock here. It's just no stock, but there's no penalties. Day one, someone says, you're running no stock? Yeah, because there's no penalties, because people are so used to no stock having a bunch of penalties. And then overpressured because the recoil is not bad. If you're going monolithic and you just really want to make it no recoil as possible, of course, go the recoil springs, because you're getting so much bullet velocity with the overpressured. But go recoil springs if you just want to lessen that recoil even more, or keep the overpressured on. You would lose the damage range, and you can go compensator. If you go compensator and recoil springs, recoil, the gun's never even heard of recoil. So if you want to hit like every single shot, go recoil springs and compensator. But you should be fine with this build here. And of course, for 5 attachments, drop the overpressured, no stock, and commando grip. And if you're dropping the overpressured, then you definitely want monolithic suppressor. So that's our top 5. If you were just here for loadouts, thank you so much for watching. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you like this type of content, want to see it first. And comment down below what you think of my rankings, my loadouts, etc. But the rest of us, we're going to go jump over to True Game Data. All right, so we're over on True Game Data. And before we actually look at the chart, a few things. One, the Kilo magazine, extended mag 2, it says 7.4%. Oh, it's extended. They don't even have extended mag 3 on here. That's a mistake. That should be extended mag. This should be extended mag 2, 7.4% ADS time. Extended mag 3 is what this should be, 40% ADS time. So those graphics aren't even right. That's why we trust True Game Data over in-game stats. And so extended mag 3 with 100 rounds, just like the old Kilo, will just destroy your ADS, and it is not worth using. So just something to note here. Normally we would have muzzle and barrel, which is what we do when we go to True Game Data, just because that's all that's going to affect damage range and bullet velocity unless you do the overpressured rounds. And so we're just, the Kilo is getting pressured on there because we're actually running pressured. And then I'm so dumb, I just did these loadouts. I need to go check. Let me make sure AMAX I have recoils on, because we're going TTK chart based off the build. Yep. All right. So we even though we would run recoil springs on the AK-74 and the Cypher I actually think did get overpressured. God, I literally just went over these builds and now I can't even remember my own builds. I can tell you Kilo and AMAX, right? Well, I just had to look up. Not true. Yeah, we have recoil springs on the Cypher because it's not getting compensator, and it has more recoil, in my opinion, than the AMAX. I'd have to go look at the actual pattern. But anyways, instead of having a muzzle on there, because monolithic's not currently available on True Game Data for the GPR, the Cypher, and the AK, we put overpressured and long barrel on there instead of reinforced barrel, just to make it as similar as possible to the damage range and bullet velocity of having monolithic. It doesn't quite give us monolithic plus reinforced, but we're working with what we've got here, and it's not uber super important. And so we look at the AK, and another reason the AK is third, when you look at the AMAX here, how we would build it, and this is all we would have because we have recoil springs on the AMAX here. The AMAX loses out slightly to the AK up to 49 meters, but past that, all the way up until 64 meters, so in that 15-ish meter range, it's beating the AK. And then you can see when you get really in the long range, it's going to kill the AK there. And it's easier to shoot than the AK. So that's why it's ahead of it. The Kilo, you can see, is buried kind of in the Cypher chart, but if we take out the AK, the Cypher, and the GPR, these TTKs aren't wildly different. This is to the chest. If you go combination, let me take the out again. It's not wildly different. I mean, we're talking a bullet difference here. And so, like I said, if you miss one bullet, especially if you go ADS time, well, I just pushed everything up. If you look at the AMAX definitely beats it in time to kill. But in this range, this little short range here, if you miss one bullet, you're losing, and that is a big deal. And so that's why I have the Kilo 1A, because the Kilo is taking the place of the AIMS, or before that, the XM4 with the buffer stock, where it's our no recoil with a decent time to kill option, where there's always been things with slightly better times to kill. But I really think the Kilo and the AMAX are 1A and 1B. Like I said, you look at the AK. The AK's got a better time to kill, obviously, than the Kilo, and in ranges has a better time to kill than the AMAX. But their time to kill is so close together, and the recoil is easier on the AMAX. The AK just can't be number one. The Cypher has a very similar time to the Kilo, but harder to shoot, and so that's why it falls behind the AK. And then the GPR starts off with times right in between the Cypher and the Kilo and the AMAX and the AK, but it starts to really drop off hard, and it gets worse than the Cypher and the Kilo, and it's harder to shoot than both the Cypher and the Kilo. It's easier to shoot than the AK, but it's not really easier to shoot than the AMAX, and so that's why it ends up in number 5. And then one other thing to look at down here is bullet velocity. The Kilo, 1530 bullet velocity. Another reason why it's 1A. It's almost hit scan. In fact, I wonder if he has the hit scan range, 76 meters. By far the longest hit scan range. And so that's why it ends up 1A, despite the AMAX having a better time to kill and it not being super close, but being a little close. The bullet velocity, and the hit scan range are superior on the Kilo and really superior on the AMAX compared to everything else. Like I said, we don't have monolithic on here, so it's hard to do a 100% one-to-one comparison. Plus, the Kilo's got the 750 fire rate, which makes it not uncomfortably fast, but more forgiving than the AMAX. It's got easier recoil than the AMAX. The bullet velocity is better with the way we build it. Of course, if the AMAX is easy for you to shoot and you don't need recoil springs, you can go to overpressured, and we can look at the bullet velocity again, and it's still losing out to the Kilo. And the AK is getting blown away. Now, we'll have monolithic on it and gain twist, so it'll be a little bit higher than it is here. Same thing with the Cypher and the GPR, but they're just not competing. The hit scan range gets a lot closer with the AMAX there. I mean, we're less than 3 meters when you add in that extra bullet velocity, but I'm using the recoil springs. So that's not how it's going to go on my builds. So there's not a whole lot else to look at. I mean, reload time. The reload time numbers are odd because, like, why is the Cypher 2.63? I'm guessing that's the actual seconds, and then these are in milliseconds. So the Kilo's 2.8. The AMAX is 2.7. The GPR, 3 seconds. Another reason why it's low on the list. The AK, 2730. Another reason why it's number 3 on the list. It's got a decent reload speed. And there's not really too much else because you shouldn't be running with it. So we're not going to worry about the move speeds, although the Kilo's got 3rd best. But the bullet velocity and the hit scan range is what we really wanted to look at here. Plus the ADS time. Now the Cypher's got a really good ADS time. And the AMAX and the Kilo, their ADS times are lesser. They are definitely worse than the GPR, the Cypher, and the AK. But in long range engagements, that's not as important. Of course, the one thing that's not on here is the HDR, but I think we're going to do a sniper video separate and just highlight some of the snipers, or we might do sniper support video together. That's a video to come. SMGs are a video to come, and so maybe our perks. So, like I said, hit that notification bell if you want to see that type of stuff first, and please don't forget to like, subscribe, comment down below what you think of my rankings, my logic, my loadouts, whatever. But I will see you on Verdansk. Get frying. Have a good day. Bye.